Waldorf,
Yeah?
what are we going to see in here anyway?
It's one of those 3D movies. Put on your glasses, Statler.
Yeah. Hey, look! Look at the guy in the goofy mask!
That's not a mask.
Oh, sorry, lady!
Hey gang, welcome to a detour edition of the Grand Circle Tour podcast. I am your captain today, Captain Kermit Stan Solo, and I am here with my two favorite co-hosts. I got Justin Clark. Justin, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Excellent. And also with us is my other favorite co-host, Chris Banis. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am amazing, but you already knew that.
Yes, I did.
And in case you couldn't tell from the title of this week's detour, is we're going to talk Muppet Vision 3D. So I kind of like to go a little bit into the history of the Muppets with the Disney Corporation, how the Muppet Theater came to be when it opened, and what we would like to see happen in the future. Plus, what you get to see in the attraction. Some of the hidden stuff that's within the attraction. So, Justin, did you want to start off about kind of the history as to how this came to be, and are you ready for that? Or
Well, I didn't go. You can help me fill in some of the details, but going all the way back to about 1989. Jim Henson was negotiating with the Disney Corporation over basically a merger agreement. The idea at the time, as I understand it, is that basically Disney was going to take over ownership of the Muppets way back then. And Jim Henson himself was going to join the company. And what I saw, it was, they said he would take on numerous roles. So not entirely sure what all they had in mind for him, but we were talking before we started recording here, and I can't imagine how awesome it would be for Jim Henson to have been a part of the Disney Corporation and to see his creativity with the power and financial backing of the Disney Corporation. But
yeah, exactly. I think Jim, I put him almost in the same category as Walt, in that he was a visionary where he would come up with ideas and he would tell his people, and he was so well liked by his people, his employees and his friends, that he would tell them how we're going to do this, and they would say, okay. Then Jim would leave the room and they would look at each other and go, how are we going to do that? And then Walt, I think, was kind of the same way, and I could see Jim would have gone very far with the Disney company had he survived and lived longer.
Too.
He was 53 years old only when he passed away, which is far too young.
That is way too young. He could have done so much more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at the time, Disney was basically looking to get the Muppets into the theme park. And I think this is also about the time where the Muppets Go to Walt Disney World special came about and some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were working on, and they were going to put in a whole new land, and they were going to call it Muppet Movie Land. And this land, they had two attractions planned.
Yep.
One of which, of course, is the 3D film that was going to take place inside the Muppet Theater. They had started filming and they had started building the theater even when Jim Henson sadly passed away in 1990.
The film was already pretty much done. Jim actually directed it. He directed the film that we see today on the screen at the Muppet Theater.
Yeah, it had started filming. Now, I don't think it was completely done. They had a lot of it done though.
Okay.
Because like a lot of the voice work and everything was done. They actually, after Jim passed away, they brought in Frank Oz for a little while to take over directing duties for what was left. But unfortunately, all that negotiations between Henson and the Disney Corporation started to fall apart partly, I theorized because they weren't going to get Jim Henson as part of the deal anymore. And Brian Henson kind of was working with them and the Henson estate. The negotiations kind of stalled out and fell apart, basically.
Yeah, and the deal at the time was not just for the Muppets. It was also for Labyrinth and for Fraggle Rock and Bear in the Big Blue House, and basically everything that Henson had. It didn't include Sesame Street at all, because Sesame Street was owned by the Sesame Street
had been, I think
Right.
the ownership of Sesame Street had been moved off to someone else by that time.
Yeah. So it's basically everything that Henson had, other than like what we wouldn't include Sesame Street. And the other attraction that they were going to build was the Great Muppet Movie Ride, which sounds like a blast.
Oh
it
my
does.
God! I still want to see this.
Yeah.
That would have been so fantastic.
Yeah. So the premise for that was it would have been the same as the Great Movie Ride, except it would be all Muppets. There wouldn't be people in it at all. And they'd be recreating movie scenes, but with Muppets instead, and showing you how Muppets are made, but completely wrong. It wouldn't be accurate at all. And they already had the concept art. A lot of concept art was already done for it. There was going to be a Frankenstein one where Beaker was going to be becoming Frankenstein and getting electrocuted. And they had a Western one where they had horses with coconuts on the bottom of their shoes to make the coconut, like rather than the Foley artists making the coconut sound, they actually had coconuts on the bottom of horses' shoes to make the coconut sound.
Yep.
Which was kind of like, and Jim Henson, even there's videos of Jim Henson talking about this attraction being made, which it's so sad that this never happened.
It is.
Keep going there,
Very
Justin.
sad.
Well, yeah, but so going back to the negotiations were kind of falling apart, and the Henson family basically told everyone who was working on this attraction from their side of it to stop working. So whatever was left at that point, Walt Disney Imagineering had to finish up on their own.
Well, the Imagineering was also part of the concept as well for Muppet Vision 3D. I was watching an interview with Jim Lewis and Craig Sheeman from the Muppet side of things, and they had a meeting with the Disney Imagineers, and he said that there was the Muppet, like the Henson was so much like a family compared to the Disney Corporation. So they went to the first meeting. So it was the two of them, and I think it was Jim Henson was there. I couldn't remember for sure. And there was 4 people from Muppets. And the Disney people filed in. There was 4 of them all in suits, or 20 of them, sorry, all in suits, carrying briefcases to his first boardroom meeting that they were going to have to talk about their ideas. And they were kind of like, wow, this is a completely different than what we're used to. So I could see maybe Brian and the rest of the Henson family were leery of this taking over. Maybe
That's understandable.
Well, and I can understand that too, just because they wouldn't have had Jim there to kind of guide the corporation in how to handle all of this, and I can see where that would make them a little more nervous than when Jim was going to be part of all of this to kind of shepherd the Muppets forward.
Yeah, and you were talking about how they were going to almost not open the Muppet Vision 3D. That almost got disappeared.
Yeah, that almost got canceled. I think
Frank
more or less
Oz.
at the last minute, Brian Henson said that he decided that releasing the film would be a good tribute for his father, basically.
And it was actually Frank Oz that talked to Brian and Disney about that. He was the one that got the talks going and basically saved Muppet Vision 3D from happening, because we were close to not even having that.
And I'm so glad we did get at least that. I mean, as much as I would love to have seen the Great Muppet Movie Ride as well, we did at least get this representation of the Muppet Theater and that wonderful film that we will be talking about in a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah. Then the other 2 things that were supposed to be in this Muppet area was there was supposed to be 2 restaurants as well. And one of them was going to be the Great Gonzo's Pandemonium Pizza Parlor, where they were going to have animatronic rats on tracks bring your food to you.
Oh God. I don't know if I would really think that would be real appetizing, but
Yeah, it was some kind of track
would be a
system
nice-
that they were coming up with.
Yeah, it would. And that would have come right out of Muppets Take Manhattan, where they had the rats as waiters in the restaurant there.
Yeah. And then the other one, if you're going to have a Muppet restaurant, you got to have the Swedish Chef. So it would have been the Swedish
That's
Chef's
right.
Video Cooking School. And this sounds like a lot of fun, too, in the concept that they had, because it was going to be basically everything going wrong in the kitchen while you're eating. And there'd be explosions happening in the kitchen, and the doors would swing open. The doors would swing open for a little bit, and there'd be chicken feathers flying out of the doors every once in a while.
that would be awesome. Oh my
So-
gosh.
Like you think about what could have been, and it's just like, it's so sad. But I'm so happy we have the Muppet Vision 3D as it is today, and please Disney keep it. Let's get a little bit into the history of the courtyard itself, and I guess it's no longer called the Muppet Courtyard. It wasn't for very long. To me, it's still the Muppet Courtyard, and always will be.
Me too. That's the only thing I call it. Probably ever
Yeah.
will too.
Yeah. So it was originally called the was it the Streets of New York? That's what the area was originally called. And then over time they changed it to the Streets of America.
Right.
And once when they started working in 2016 on Galaxy's Edge and they tore out most of the area, they changed the name to Muppet Courtyard, which wasn't that long ago, only 2016.
Right.
Of course, now the name's been changed again to, what is it, the Grand Plaza?
Yeah, I think I wrote
Yeah.
that down too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's Grand Avenue, which is like the street that goes towards Galaxy's Edge is Grand Avenue. And then when you go into the Muppet Courtyard area where Pizza Rizzo's is and the Muppet 3D is now Grand Plaza. And that area has so many fun jokes.
Oh, it does. Well,
Chris,
you know,
did you- Go ahead,
we're
Chris.
thinking about history, just to kind of look back real quick before you get into that, is the attraction just celebrated its 29th anniversary 2 days ago. So how timely is this?
Well, and that's the thing, like the attraction opened exactly 1 year after Jim Henson passed away.
Right.
So
May 16th, 1991.
yeah. So it shares the same anniversary, which is also the same year I got hired at the job, the same day that I got hired at the job I'm at now.
Oh, wow.
So it's 32 years I've been at the same job, and that's the day I got
Wow.
hired was May 16th was my first day.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
interesting little bit there too is that the attraction opened under the name Jim Henson's Muppet
Right.
Vision 3D.
Yep.
But around 2004, when Disney did finally acquire the Muppets, they did not acquire the rights to use Jim Henson's name at that point. So they had to. That's when they had to rename it to just Muppet Vision 3D. They had to drop Jim Henson's name from it.
Yeah.
See, I did not know that. That's good to know, because I saw that the name got removed, and I was like, well, that's not nice. So that explains it. There is a
That's
reason,
why, yeah.
legal-wise, behind it.
Yeah, there's always legal reasons for these things.
Yes.
Almost always.
Yeah.
Lawyers are having a field day with us.
Yes.
So the courtyard is kind of like the pre-QQ almost to the attraction, in that you have like the all the sight gags that are all over the place, the eyeballs painted on the walls, the water tower with the face painted on it, the Sweetums out front with the 3D ball
Yeah.
sign. They from hearing from the Imagineers, they originally were planning on going even further with having like special trash cans made with eyeballs on them and
Oh, wow.
and fur and stuff like that. It was
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
the
you know,
original.
even the fountain.
I was going to say the highlight is the fountain.
It's got so
Absolutely.
many details in it. I mean, you could just like walk all around and look at every little figure that's in there, and they all have a different expression, and it's so cute. I love sitting over there.
And that
Fun.
fountain has gone through a lot of changes over the years. Unfortunately, it seems like every time it changes, it's a little bit less
Right.
than what it was before. And I
Yeah.
don't know if people are damaging the figures that they keep removing them. I know at one point the fountain no longer worked and the plumbing
Right.
cracked or something was leaking. So
Yep.
they made it into a flower bed for a while.
Uh-huh.
And it looked pretty, but it wasn't the same as the fountain.
No.
And all you
I'm
could
glad
see at that
they
time was the Statue of
made it.
Liberty piggy.
Right.
Then they fixed it and they brought back. They used to have Fozzie Bear using an old style camera as part of the whole old Hollywood or MGM Studios type
Yeah.
theme, and they had all the rats fishing, and there was all sorts of
Yep.
different characters in there. Now I think there's hardly any compared to what there once was.
Yeah. I still like it though, and it's better than no fountain at all.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure, exactly. So the queue. Let's talk a little bit about that. You kind of start off when you first enter the theater. You're not entering the theater. You're entering Muppet Labs,
Right.
and you have to go through past the security main gate office type thing off to the right, where who's the pig from Pigs in Space?
Link Throb?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Link-Throb is supposed to be there, but he's gone for lunch because you can tell he has his picture on the wall and he has his police uniform on. So he's gone out for lunch. He put his sign up saying "back in 5 minutes." Keys under the mat.
Yep.
And
And there,
I
and
think
it's
this
there.
is one of the
And it's a
coolest.
wonderful detail that if you pick up the corner of the mat, there is a key there.
It's there. Yep.
Yeah, and you kind of have to go around the stanchion to do it, but it is cool to do. If you haven't done it, it's I think it's one of the really neat hidden gems in all of Walt Disney World.
It sure is.
Is the key. So after you pass that, you're entering Muppet Labs, and they have all the different posters and the doors that are not doors for the for the what is it, the Imagination Pavilion or something like that. This isn't
Yeah.
the real door.
Yeah.
Different sight gags all throughout the entire queue, which gets you into kind of like the holding area, which is
And it
still
looks like kind of like this backstage area for the Muppet Theater.
Yeah, it does. With the crates and all that.
One
yeah.
of my favorite crates is labeled it's Big Boom, North Dakota.
I don't know which one is that. Where is that?
I couldn't.
Is that the
point it
one that
out, but
says? I think it says "Do not store indoors," and in case of emergency, run with 5 exclamation points. Is that
Yeah, but the address for it is Big Boom, North Dakota, or something like that. So it was like North Dakota. So I always look for that one.
I like the Piggy has like the most luggage out of any of the Muppets.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Great.
Stacks.
Yeah, and she has like a crate that says satin evening gowns, and then this next crate
Yes.
says even more satin evening gowns, and then the last one
Yeah.
is the rest of the satin evening gowns.
My husband says that she packs like I do when I go to Disney. So, yeah. Well, I admit it. I overpack and I'm high maintenance. What can I say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
scattered all throughout that area are so many little jokes, little tributes, just all sorts of different, Easter eggs, for lack of a better word, that you can look for on all of the crates, look through. When you go in there, take the time to look around because there is
Yeah.
so much to see.
Now, there's one that I came across, and it's from really a long time ago. It's from 2004. And I don't know if this one is still there, so you can tell me. But it said there's something on the one side of the box, but then when you look on around the corner, it says PS, mold, fungus, helmets covered with fungus and mold, helmets with fungus, no mold, helmets with mold, no fungus, fungus and mold, no helmets. It cracks me up.
And if you look closely, all of those crates that are labeled like that are all for Gonzo.
Yeah,
Those are that's his helmet and fungus mold crate collection.
yeah. This just cracks me up.
Yeah. So the theming in this area, and we didn't even get into the movie posters that they have
Yeah.
that are changing on the screens, and of course you have the net full of Jello. The
Yeah.
gag that I hope they never take out of there.
Well,
Plus-
I remember. Do you remember I said something when we were talking a few weeks ago in the Grand Circle Tour page that when I was there in March, the net was hanging there, but there was no Jello. So I don't know
Really?
if they took it out to do something different, but the net even looked different than what it always had. So I don't know if they're changing something with that and it's going to go back to the way it was. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
That was in March of this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because when I went in January, unfortunately, the theater was closed because they were replacing the carpet, they said,
Mm-hmm.
which I think
Yeah,
is
I
the
think
kind
that
of...
was. Yeah, I think
standard.
they just opened in like February after that little bit of refurbishment.
Yeah.
So maybe the net gag is just still undergoing some refurbishment or wasn't
Yeah.
ready by
Yeah,
then or
well,
something.
hopefully
Yeah,
it
but
comes back.
I was like looking around.
It was
for
looking.
it.
I saw it in the when I saw it in the fall last year. The Jello was not looking quite like Jello anymore. It was more looking like Lego
Yeah.
blocks because
Yeah.
it was
So-
kind of faded and dusty, and it needed.
Yeah.
It needed
So
a-
maybe they're just redoing it.
hopefully.
Yeah.
And then of course you got the 3 TV set gag, where the Muppets interact with each other through the TV sets.
Yeah, I love that bit because so when you walk in, there's like 6 or 9 different TV monitors scattered throughout because it's a pretty big area and
Mhm.
it can get pretty crowded sometimes. And at first it looks like they're all just showing the same thing. But after a while, as the skits and whatnot go on, they start incorporating the other screens. So I think there's particularly some of the bits with Gonzo. He starts doing a dance routine, and pretty
Yeah.
soon all 9 of these monitors are doing something a little different.
Yep.
Yeah, and my first time going to the Muppet Theater, I wasn't expecting that. It kind of caught me off. I'm looking at the TVs. First of all, I was taking pictures of all the sight gags everywhere, and everyone else is watching the TVs. I'm like, why are you people looking at the TVs and there's sight gags to look at? And then I started realizing, hey, these TVs are different.
Yeah.
So I had
And
to
that's a
start
whole
watching it.
show in and of itself. Just what's
It
on those
is.
monitors. I love to try to get in there just as that show is starting and just watch the whole thing because
Yep.
it's a whole Muppet show right there.
And it's 3 TVs, so it's almost 3D. So some people, I can see people thinking, this is it? This is the 3D?
it?
The 3
Yeah.
TVs? They haven't even gotten to the show yet.
Oh man. My favorite part about that though is Rizzo when he's dressed up like Mickey.
And they're just tourists. What do they know?
Yeah. Oh.
Hi, welcome to my park.
Oh.
So then the doors open up and you get to go into the theater, and you're welcomed by Statler and Waldorf kind of heckling the audience. And this gets me to my favorite experience ever in the Muppet Theater, when I went with Justin. It was Justin and his wife Monica and myself, and Justin's wearing a goofy baseball hat that kind of has the teeth sticking off the end of the brim and the ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, Statler and Waldorf go, "Hey, look at the guy in the goofy mask." and then his partner says, "That's not a mask." And he goes, "Oh, sorry, lady." Half the theater turned and looked at Justin.
That's so funny. Oh.
It was very much that guy for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Oh my god.
Do you guys have any favorite memories or moments in the Muppet Theater like that?
Oh, yeah. My ultimate favorite is the Swedish Chef. I mean, he is one of my favorite characters from the Muppet Show originally anyway. My dad was 100% Swedish. My grandpa came from Sweden when he was like 16, and he really had a heavy accent the entire time that I knew him until he passed. And my dad used to imitate the Swedish Chef, and he sounded like my grandpa. So that was always a really, hit the heart kind of a thing when I would see him in there. And it was because it was just so lifelike, more than just seeing it on the TV when he was, he's up in the back and he's ready to shoot the cannon and everything that he says. But that's really my favorite part of the whole shebang is the Swedish Chef.
The Swedish Chef with his cannon.
Yeah.
How about you, Justin?
I have such a love and affection for the Muppet Show, the original Muppet Show series, that just being able to walk into that theater and feel like you are in the audience of the actual Muppet Show is just so fantastic for me. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. How cool would it be if it wasn't a movie and it was entirely animatronics, like a Country Bear type of situation?
That would be awesome.
Would that be better or would that be worse?
I don't know if it would be better, just because you wouldn't get the Muppet performances. This way we get not just Jim Henson's voice, but his performance of Kermit the Frog in that puppet. So that's something I like about.
Yeah, they do a good job with Bean Bunny and Statler and Waldorf, though.
Yep.
The Imagineers
I don't know. Maybe they could bring more of that in, and have kind of a not half and half, but a little bit more of the animatronic thing plus the other. That would kind of offset each other.
Then I would miss out on one of my favorite jokes is when Kermit says, "We at no time ever will we be stooping to any cheap 3D tricks." And out comes Fozzie going, "Did somebody say cheap 3D tricks?"
Oh gosh.
And interesting enough, Waldo, who's like the computer generated little character, he's actually controlled like a Muppet in that he was like alive, like they controlled him similar to they would a Muppet with a remote control hand.
Yeah, he was their first CGI Muppet, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And he was pretty much brought in because the Muppets cannot portray 3D as well as a CGI character can, because they're stuck to the bottom of the screen.
Right.
So in order to create 3D, it has to be something that's not in the bottom of the screen. So Waldo was perfect for that, in that he floats around and he could stick his nose out and point. And I'm so lucky because every time when he does that trick where he says, "I'm not, you think I'm talking to everyone, I'm just talking to you," and his nose sticks out, it's me every time he's pointing at him. Like the luckiest person on earth, because no matter where I sit, I'm the one he picks.
Yes, he's always singling you out, Stan.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if you ever want, you can sit beside me and you get similar.
Well, and going back to a little bit of the history as well, Bean Bunny himself was kind of a newer character for the company at the time, which is part of the reason that he features in this. But I think the original script idea was going to feature him even more, and it was some of the pushback from Disney was to tell Henson, we really think audiences are going to react better to the more familiar characters.
And then they put Waldo in for most of it.
I don't get the impression that Jim Henson was good at taking direction. He wasn't really a rule-following kind of guy.
Yeah. A little hidden secret in that is the scene with Miss Piggy, where she picks up the boat rope and gets yanked, and she gets pulled into the water. Her wig actually falls off and stays behind. It's very, very quick. You have to really be watching for it in order to even notice it. That was done on purpose. They actually tethered her wig down because they didn't want her wig to get wet when filming that, because if they needed to do more takes, they could bring in another Miss Piggy or dry her off easy enough. I guess the wig would take so long to dry
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they purposely did that scene that way, which is kind of a cool inside thing.
And I believe that was actually one of the first scenes that was filmed for the entire film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I did not know that.
Yep.
So anything else we want to talk about for inside? I mean, the transformation of the theater from being pretty much minty to basically trashed is done so well.
Yeah.
To this day, it holds up.
Oh, absolutely. And I just love so much of the entire show. It's just so much of the spirit of the Muppets and the Muppet Show. And you can tell how much Jim Henson did have a hand in creating this. And it was sadly one of the last things that he worked on. It was the last time he voiced a character for anything. And I think Richard Hunt, who passed away in '92, this is also the last thing that he had worked on as well before passing away.
Yeah, same. Yeah, he would have been Scooter, eh?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, and it was kind of almost like a changing of the guard at that moment when this attraction opened. Is basically you could as you exit the theater, you kind of empty out into which is probably the most important part of the attraction is the gift shop, which is sadly, I mean, it's a beautiful store. There's so much, again, just like the queue has and the courtyard has and the holding pen has. The store itself has so many fun little jokes and inside gags all over the place. You got the lockers when you first walk in of all the different Muppets. You can stop and look at them and try to spot figure out who owns which locker. There's on the other side, there's a bunch of props kind of just piled up in the corner. There's actually hidden Cinderella Castle in that prop corner area. Then you go into the store and they got the hotel, kind of like
Happiness Hotel.
Yes, Happiness Hotel.
Happiness Hotel from Great Muppet Caper.
Yeah. Yep. And Mickey's shorts are hanging on a clothesline with a bunch of other Muppet-sized clothing. There's a Dr. Teeth, kind of like a little band thing set up there, and it's amazing. And my first time going, there was so much Muppet stuff that you could buy there. Like, it was just overwhelming how much Muppet stuff you can get. Now it's relegated to just a little stand, which in itself is so incredibly sad.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Muppet store, the Stage One store, company store?
It's cute, but I wish it was bigger. I mean, I think they could do so much with that place, really.
Well, with the whole of Muppets and Muppet Show that to work with, I would love, there's so much more that they could do with any of it. But I am happy to see things like the Happiness Hotel desk.
Yeah.
And some of that. It's so much fun as a fan of the Muppets to walk into these spaces and kind of feel like you're there.
Yeah, exactly. So I reached out to our listeners, as well as on a Muppet group that I belong to, Muppet Guys Talking, and I asked if you could add or change anything in the Muppet area, what would you do? So Chris Schultz, he added character walkarounds, photo ops, more merch in the store, update the parody posters, and have interactive elements, which is, I think, pretty much anything every Muppet fan wants.
Yeah.
Evan Phillips said, all of what Chris said and more. Why is there no Muppet merch in the Muppet store? Yes, there's some, but barely. How about Muppet music playing in the courtyard? Or whatever they call it these days. Which I don't understand why they don't. It just seems to make sense that it would be there. He wants them to bring back...
when they were specifically calling it the Muppet Courtyard.
Yeah, for like a year. He wants them to bring back the balloon, the big Kermit balloon that used to be on the top of the Muppet Theater.
I remember that balloon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that
was
awesome. Was removed. That was removed because of Galaxy's Edge and the sight views.
I
So
suppose.
you could see it from Galaxy's Edge, so that's why they had to remove it. But I would think they should be able to put it on Pizza Rizzo almost.
Yeah, that
and it
wouldn't
would
be in the way.
Yeah, I would think it would. The sight line would work. It'd be, again, I wonder what they did with that balloon. Like, I'd love to have that thing.
They gotta. I would think that they could put it someplace else over there, even if it's like not way up high. Just have it there.
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah. Or use it in a float or a parade or something.
Yeah.
Like, they repurpose stuff. It might come back. He said he'd be okay with new Muppet film added or even Muppet Babies in the theater. He feels they need to change it. Make it like Star Wars and have different adventures each side. So every time you go, would be a different show that you see. Would be okay. And then like rotate through them or have a schedule, which would be, I'd be fine with that. I'd love to have that.
Yeah.
I would be happy if they would just restore the film they have a little better. I mean, it's some of the times I've been there, it seems like it's wearing out a bit.
Well, they did restore it a few years back, and it made a huge difference. It's a lot better than it once was.
Okay.
It's not nearly as grainy. Yeah, it's a lot better than it
Yeah.
once was. Zach Woolner's added, he says, just about anything to bring more attention to the characters, especially when it seems their presence is further dwindled for the most part. You can't argue with that.
No.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've closed it down entirely over in Disneyland. And so the one we have here in Florida is about all we have left. And it's right between the old Star Tours and the new Galaxy's Edge. So every day I keep expecting them to go, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. But the fact that they did this refurbishment fairly recently,
Yeah.
maybe
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
a little bit of encouragement, and they are trying to do some new Muppet content on Disney Plus. So I'm hoping that they still plan to keep the Muppets around, at least that small part there, because I would hate to lose that Muppet Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. I agree with you completely. Colleen O'Malley Callmer said yes to all the above, especially merchandise and character meet and greets. She wants to have a Kermit meet and greet. They did have for a while one for Muppets Most Wanted with Constantine. They had a meet and greet with Constantine that lasted, was it like 6 months, if that?
Hardly at all. Yeah.
Yeah, but they had the actual Muppeteer, puppeteer that was doing Constantine, was controlling Constantine at Disney World. So that must have been exhausting for him to do this.
Oh my.
Ugh.
Like
would
for
think so.
however many hours a day, all day, doing a meet and greet with that. He couldn't maintain that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it would have been
You can
great.
see where that wouldn't last.
Scott Joyce says additional Muppet theming in Pizza Rizzo and other nearby dining locations. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, as much as they could, expand it or add to the theming around there, just even the area that they have that is already Muppet themed. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah.
I would love to see stuff from the original Muppet movie, like buildings and signs, and just like the thing that they really focused on in the prop culture was the El Sleazo sign. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be so cool to see up there somewhere. And
Or the Electric Mayhem bus parked outside.
yeah,
Something, or
Yep.
Fozzie's
Fozzie
car parked
Studebaker.
outside.
Yeah.
Fozzie's car, after they, redecorated it in all those bright colors.
And we know from prop culture that car still exists.
Yes, it does. And I'm going to go see it this summer, come heck or high
nice.
water.
Colleen O'Malley also says that she would totally buy a Pizza Rizzo t-shirt if they sold the
Yeah.
merchandise in the restaurant. Why don't they sell those? Like, seriously, how
Yeah.
hard would it be to design something like that? Scott Joy also says, I wish they would license additional rights from the Jim Henson Company and buy Thera. Are you familiar with Thera? THRA?
I'm not sure who he's referring to. No.
Yeah. John Westner says, I would love a Sweetums meet and greet.
Oh, that would
That's
be awesome.
one of my number ones, is I want a Sweetums meet and greet. And I had tried. I had gone up to a cast member first thing in the morning wearing my Muppet hat, my Muppet shirt, and explaining that I'm a big Muppets fan and was there any way I can get a selfie with Sweetums? And she looked into it and tried to get one for me and wasn't able to. but they did give me Sweetums' autograph on a card
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
that's something.
to take home. Yeah, which was pretty cool. I mean, the worst I could say is no, we can't do that, and they did better than the worst. So, John Westner said he would like to see something like Star Wars Weekends concept, but have the performers there to meet. That would be cool.
awesome.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I would totally love to meet like Frank Oz, Dave Goelz. I mean, some of these performers are. I mean, just whenever you see them being interviewed or like on the thing that just happened this weekend with the guys talking, they're always so much fun. It would be wonderful if we could meet them in person like that.
Yeah. So then I went to our Facebook page, the Grand Circle Tour Magic Ticket Holders, and asked the same question. And Rick Forbes says he would like them to upgrade the movie and the food in the restaurant. I've never eaten at Pizza Rizzles, believe it or not. That's going to be my must-do my next trip. But from what I hear, it's not very good. Have either of you ever tried it?
You know, I haven't been there since they've rethemed it. I haven't.
Okay. And Chris?
No, I have not.
Yeah. No, I haven't tried it at all, but I'm going to try it next time and decide for myself just how bad it is. But from everything I hear, don't expect much.
No.
Yeah, I think it's
kind of like
it's the same pizza as what they had before, and that
or
pizza wasn't
like it's
very
similar
good.
to resort pizza, which is pretty bad.
Which is like the worst pizza I ever had in my life. That pizza. I've had resort
that
pizza.
pizza.
That's the pizza that they make there. That's my understanding.
Yeah. But could you imagine seeing Fozzie and Animal in a character meet and greet?
I think Sweetums is really doable. I don't understand why they don't have a meet and greet with Sweetums. That would be awesome.
And
He's
Sam
there
the
anyways.
Eagle?
Well, yeah, he has. What's that?
Sam the Eagle would be another good one.
Oh, I love Sam. Sam's a fun character.
Yep.
But even speaking of Pizza Rizzo, I mean, the fact that they have like this Muppet themed cafeteria, restaurant, whatever we want to call it. Muppets Take Manhattan also had a restaurant in it that played a major role. It would be fun to have something themed around that instead.
I like the Swedish Chef idea of a restaurant with
Oh,
explosions
that
going
would-
on in the
that would be
kitchen.
Awesome.
I would totally be
Chicken
there.
feathers flying out the
Pull
door.
that, pull that idea out of mothballs and make that one happen. That would be
make that one
fantastic.
happen. Bill Bulger says, I agree with updating Muppet Vision or do a Toy Story instead. Okay, Bill, you're no longer my friend. The Toy Story's already in the park. Jeff Monotero, he says that he would change it. He doesn't like it that the Sweetums comes out onto the floor in person live, and then he's also on the screen. But they're not at the same time. He does leave.
Not at the
No,
same
I don't
time,
think
no.
so.
No. Yeah, he does.
He's on
You
screen
see him
for
on
a
the
little
screen.
bit, and then he leaves the screen, and then
Right,
the live
and then he
action
comes out.
performer comes out.
Yeah, so he's out on the street behind the theater, which just makes sense to me. I don't understand. I never understood that problem that people had with that. How about you two? Is there anything you would really like to see added or changed? Chris?
I'd like to see some additional special effects, I think, in the theater itself, like when you're sitting in your seat. I think that they could come up with some like physical stuff. Yeah, I don't know how they could pull it off, but that's kind of what,
Well,
I'd like to see.
It's actually the first 4D in quotations movie to come out at Walt Disney World or any Disney park, as far as I understand, where not only do you have the 3D elements on the screen, but you also have the bubbles and the smoke and the water coming out at you. The part with the spinning pie, where Fozzie has the remote control spinning pie. My first time, I thought for sure we were going to get splattered because he already did the flour. I thought for sure we were going to get splattered with that pie. My first time watching it.
Oh, could you imagine?
Or some sort of gunk coming out at you. How about you, Justin?
You know, so much of it is like I just love the attraction as it is. I hate to say I want anything different. You know, if I were going to change something about the film that exists, I probably would have put something more like a character like Robin instead of Bean Bunny in that role, just
Mm-hmm.
because, again, more familiar character.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I would love to see. I think you could do a new film. It just, I would still want to have the old one available. Like, so maybe do it like, I forget which person was saying, do it in a rotation, like you do with
Yeah.
Star Tours.
That would be really cool. That'd actually be really cool.
Maybe alternate back and forth between 2 or 3 different films.
I do like a lot of the ideas that the passengers came up with. I like the idea of having the music in the courtyard and in the company store would be awesome.
Yeah, and like you say, why is that not already there?
Yeah.
The Justin, you have one of the Muppets that were available at FRO Schwartz in New York that you can build your own Muppet.
I do have one of those. I mean, I did not get it from FAO Schwartz. I got it from someone who had purchased it from there and then was selling it on eBay, and that's how I got it. But
so why not have that there? It doesn't make sense in FAO Schwartz. have an FAO. It's no longer there, but build your own Muppet in Disney World. How amazing would that be?
Again, it's one of those ideas. Like, how is that not a thing?
Exactly. Yeah. How is that not a thing already? Like the Sweetums meet and greet should be a thing. The music should be a thing, and the create your own Muppet should be a thing. I'd be buying one every trip.
Or even just have like some actual like Muppets to purchase of some sort. I mean, maybe pre-built ones if you don't want to go through all the effort of letting people build their own, but have some pre-built Muppet sort of things that you can buy, because people who are fans of the Muppets and the Muppet Show would buy that.
Yeah. I mean, like Star Wars, I think there's probably more Star Wars fans than there are Muppet fans, like, let's face it, but there's a winning, like, people, build a lightsaber sells out every day, all day. Learn from that and transfer it over to other parts of the park. That's what the fans want.
Right.
Did you two hear anything or read anything about in Disneyland what would have happened if the deal went through with the Muppets? They had some wild ideas for Disneyland. I'll just kind of quickly go through them. So the 30th anniversary was, what year would it have been for Disneyland? 1990? 1989?
Okay, Disneyland was opened in 55, right? Yeah. So it would have been, 30 would have been 85.
I mean, it was a 35th anniversary.
Okay, 35th would have been 90 then, yeah.
90, okay, so 1990. So the plan was, if this Henson deal went through, they were going to have the Muppets take over Disneyland for a year. Because Mickey and Minnie were worn out doing the 35th anniversary at Disneyland, and they needed a vacation. So they were going to go on vacation, and they were going to give Disneyland to the Muppets to take care of. So the plan was January 1st, 1991, the Muppets were going to be taking over Disneyland. And the first thing they were going to do is the Disneyland sign, the marquee outside, the iconic sign, they were going to have like a sign put over top of it, held on with ropes, saying Muppet Land. This was one of the changes they were going to do. The floral Mickey at the train station in front of Disneyland was going to be a Kermit the Frog floral arrangement for the entire year.
Oh my gosh.
In Pirates of the Caribbean, the scene where the pirates are chasing the ladies around, there was going to be Animal being one of the pirates. Great Moments in Mr. Lincoln was to become Muppet Vision 3D.
Oh my God.
That was going to replace Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. In the Small World, the Cleopatra scene was going to be Miss Piggy in that, and she was going to be in Small World. They were going to paint the Matterhorn green top to bottom. Was one of the plans that they came up with.
Oh boy. That would not have been good.
And they were going to have 2 daily parades that were Muppet themed for the entire year. Here Comes the Muppets, which was going to have 10 oversized Muppet balloon floats.
Oh,
For the
that would've
35th
been
anniversary,
cute.
they had the Disney character balloons, and they were just going to use the same vehicles and make new balloons to replace them. And the second parade was going to be an all-star motorcade. Muppets would ride in different vehicles, and it would be like puppeteers working the Muppets in different vehicles, which they kind of had at the Hollywood Studios for a little bit. They ended up using that idea for a little bit in Hollywood Studios. Miss Piggy was in a pink Cadillac and whatnot. And then January 1st, 1992, Mickey and Minnie were going to come back from vacation, and next morning everything was going to be back to the way it was after the Muppets have it for one full year, except Great Moments of Mr. Lincoln was still going to be Muppets Vision 3D. That was going to maintain, and Great Moments of Mr. Lincoln.
Okay.
So if you're a fan of any Matterhorn, the Mickey Floral thing,
Wow.
the Great Moments of Mr. Lincoln, you might be happy that this deal didn't happen, because these were all possible things that they were thinking about.
Wow.
Well, yeah, and then it was another 10 years before Muppet Vision 3D even opened in Disneyland, and even then it was California Adventure, but still.
In California Adventure, yeah, and it didn't last very long either. How long did it last? Like 6 years, or if that?
Muppet Vision 3D, it opened in 2001, and it didn't really go on hiatus until 2014, so it was there a while.
Oh, okay, so it was longer than I thought. And they kind of switched it out they were playing different 3D movies using that theater for a while.
Yeah,
like
they were using that for like some different sneak previews of different movies.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a sneak preview of Tron Legacy in there, and there was like several others that had been.
Yeah. So anyways, the Muppets are kind of always around the parks, and hopefully they're around more than ever. At least that's my hope. I'm sure you two would agree.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Big Muppet fan here.
Yeah. So let's bring back great moments in Muppet history, or more great moments in history, especially the American parts in Magic Kingdom. We got the theater, or the restaurant that opened up at the American Pavilion in Epcot.
True.
We have
Sure, we did
Pizza
get that.
Rizzo's, and we have Muppet Vision 3D. So all we need is something in Animal Kingdom. Will be in every park.
There you go. That could be a Kermit focus because, he's
A
a
tree frog.
amphibian.
There
Or
you
just
go.
animal in Animal Kingdom. How about
Right.
Okay, Animal can take over the Animal Kingdom for a year.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, man.
I guess they named the park after him, so
You know,
that's Muppet
Yeah, they
related.
did.
Any final thoughts, you two? Chris?
No, I just hope that it does not go anywhere. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
It just better stay.
Justin?
Yeah, and I would like to add, I absolutely love the great moments of in American history that the Muppets were doing there. I really enjoyed those.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm also very glad to just see, I'm hoping that with new content coming out in Disney Plus with the Muppets, and like you say, we're getting a few things here and there in the different parks. I would love to see the Muppets integrated more and more into the parks. I love to see them everywhere. I would love to see them bring back Dr. Bunsen Honeydew's roving
Labs.
mobile thing that had been the mobile
Yeah.
lab that had been moving around.
Mobile
Epcot
Muppet
before.
Labs.
That would
Yeah,
be
I would love to
cute.
see that
Yeah.
again.
Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was. I did get I was lucky enough to see that in person, just by chance, and it completely made my trip when I got to see that. So, well, thank you guys for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed
Yeah.
this one a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Who doesn't love talking about the Muppets?
Exactly. And with that, Ken, take it away.
If you would like to keep the adventure going after the show, be sure to like our Facebook friends page, Grand Circle Tours Magical Ticket Holders. While you're on Facebook, like our group page, Grand Circle Tours. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Grand Circle Tours Podcast, as well as on Instagram, GCT Podcast, and our YouTube channel, Grand Circle Tour. If you would like to email us, drop us a line at gctpodcast@gmail.com. T-shirts and other fun merchandise can be found at tpublic.com. Simply search Grand Circle Tour Podcast. If you enjoyed your adventure, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Only one rule, make it good. All logos, sounds, songs, and music that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are the full ownership of the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be the ownership of the Grand Circle Tour Podcast. Thank you for riding with us, and welcome home.
Well, what do you think?
We have time to go to the bathroom before the next show?
We can't, you old fool. We're bolted to the seats.